All right, Carolyn, we are live over channel 18.
Except she's muted.
Yeah, Carolyn, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay,
Yes.
this is June 15th, 2020. This is the meeting of the Marine and Freshwater Quality Committee. And we are meeting to discuss a variety of issues, and we'll go through the agenda that's been posted online. The first item was the approval of the minutes of our March meeting. Does anybody have any objections to them as they were sent out?
It does not reflect changes I sent to Laura on June 9th concerning the dredging committee. So I would suggest that until Lara joins us, we might move to agenda item number 2.
Okay, let's postpone those for now, and if we have to come back to it at the end and put it on another agenda, we will. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the management of Uncle Harvey's Pond. We have been working on Uncle Harvey's Pond for several years with the University of Massachusetts School of Marine Science, and studied the really comprehensive management report that came out from them. And then we are now at the stage of asking the abutters for the approval of that plan. So Scott, would you like to take it away?
May I first say I will be muting myself and recusing myself as an abutter until the end of this segment.
Thank you, Betsy.
Sure, Carolyn. So we were just talking that it's been a while since we met and discussed this, but just a quick refresher of where we left off. We've gone through several rounds of edits of the notice of intent submission package that we'd like to move forward with. We have what we believe to be our final draft that's before the committee. We'd like to go through that and see if there's any further questions, and then look to get direction from the committee in terms of how we should move forward. So just to recap, we're proposing in this notice of intent package, we're proposing to apply alum as a means for dealing with cyanobacteria blooms that occur within Uncle Harvey's Pond. We would like to propose that application be made either this fall or the spring of 2021, or possibly a combination of those, depending on what you all think and what the Board of Selectmen determine financially. We've in this edit from the last time we've met, we have presented this now where the entire treatment area, which is a 4.3 acre portion of the 7.5 acre pond, be treated with alum. And that's a one-time application, and then investigation to see how effective it's been and whether or not a bump in treatment is needed. That 4.3 acres of Uncle Harvey's Pond encompasses about 57% of the pond surface area. All properties, as you recall, that pond is actually segmented various sizes of pizza slices, if you will, of the property owners that surround the pond. Every owner has a different size portion of the pond that they own based on their lot parameters. And we've now included all of the lots in this application submittal. So with that, that's where we're at, and we're looking for direction from the committee.
Judith?
So Scott, are all the abutters, all the owners now on board?
No, ma'am. No, when we last left off, we wanted to get the NOI that we would present to the owners formulated and in good form before we delivered it to them. So in this, there's an affidavit that each of the owners will need to sign, as this will be part of their deed associated with their property. We will need them to sign the affidavit in order to be able to move forward with doing this work on their parcel. So this is, in a sense, Judith, it's giving us what we can present to those owners. That's really the next step. Without the owners, we're sort of left standing unless we just treated the town-owned parcel, which is fairly small, or the town-owned parcel and the Orleans Land Trust parcel, if we had their permission. So that's where we're at, is seeking permission from the landowners.
Okay, I was just wondering, because I know that, I think it was our last meeting, I've lost track, it's many moons ago, but I thought we were talking about curtaining off areas that people objected to, and I wasn't sure where we were with that. So I did actually see Dr. Wagner a couple weeks ago, and he was saying that Hinckley's Pond came out just spectacular. They're really, really pleased with the alum results that they got there. So I think that might be convincing to some to go forward. But again, I think it's really important that everybody's on board and that we have some kind of backup plan for those who continue to object.
Yes, and Judith, just to answer your question there, we did have discussion, and we had a figure showing siltation curtain. I mean, it's not what it would be used as, but that's what it's commonly called. It's essentially a floating boom, a curtain that goes down to the bottom of the pond and floats up and is held up above the surface to exclude certain areas if we get to that point. And this narrative still includes that language in here. So it says that if there is opposition, if there are parcel owners that are not on board with this plan, that curtain could still come into play. The detail's been removed because the committee recommended that we give everyone the opportunity, if they want to affirm whether or not they would like to have us, permit the treatment for their parcel or not.
Okay, that's good. It's been a long time and I haven't heard opposition. So, sometimes that just goes away.
Carol?
By the way, Scott, I would like to compliment you on the language that you used in the NOI, or maybe it was in the initial letter, describing the option for using the curtain on an owner's property. It wasn't encouraging the use, opting out with the curtain, but it offered it in such a way that I thought struck just the right tone.
Sure. I don't deserve the credit. That was written by the folks at BSC, Hannah and Matt, or the folks who did a nice job with that. But I agree, Carol. I think we want to be as honest and informative as we can to the owners of the properties of what's going on. Ed? I think you're muted, Ed.
Ed, you're on mute. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. With regard to the butters, last time we talked, there was a move, I think, to try to do outreach to them, to let them know what was going on. I mean, and to maybe provide an educational meeting for them to maybe ask their questions. Do we have any sense of how many are on board, and are they all aware of what's going on?
So I don't know, Scott, you want me to jump on that? Oh,
Sure.
But essentially, we haven't begun that piece of it yet. The idea was to try and get the notice cleaned up, get the affidavit cleaned up, make sure that the committee had a chance to review it before we just started to kind of send anything out. And one of the things that we're looking for today is the type of guidance from the committee here as to how you want us to move forward with that. Our Scott and Hannah and I were discussing earlier before we came on the possibility of sending out the affidavit and the information out to the owners and see what comes back. Do we get 90% back? Do we get 50% back? And then see if people need, maybe there's 5 or 6 different people, maybe we can set up either an individual conference call with them on an individual basis, or as like a small group to kind of discuss and address some of those concerns. Our hope is that the majority of the people sign it and send it back, and because this process has been going on for so long, already kind of have a little bit of an understanding maybe, or if they're already on board, maybe we don't need that, reach out to those individuals. And we were trying to think about the best way to do this from a budget standpoint. So, you know, the biggest bang for our buck and trying to direct maybe our attention to some of the folks who are on the fence a little bit more than the ones that sign it and send it back and say, yep, this is great, go, you know, this is what we've been looking for. So I think our approach right now is, as long as this group is happy with the notice and the letter that we have from the town that we're going to send out to those folks that are owners of the parcel, and seeing what we get back, and then see how we want to set up some kind of a meeting or informative type of thing, was our thought process on it. But we were looking for guidance from you guys today on if you have a method that you want us to take, an approach.
I'm just gonna say one thing and then I'll get to you, Carol. This all started pre the days of COVID virus. And so the ideas of meetings and all of that kind of thing that we had at one point have sort of laid low all summer because it was not the time we wanted to go knocking on doors or proposing meetings or anything else. So that's really thrown us for a loop. So Carol?
Just 2 comments on the documents themselves. And I remember, and Betsy, it may have been you who said months ago, or maybe even more than a year ago, that you never were able to reach 1 or maybe 2 of the homeowner abutters. And I noticed something as I read through the documents that you sent most recently on this, which was the NOI, and reading the names and addresses. I don't remember the name of the owners, but they live in Cranford, New Jersey. And the address leapt out at me because it said, I think 15, the number's unimportant, Nassau Street, Naussaau. And I thought, I wonder if that's a typo for Nassau Street. Yet in every place where the addresses of the abutters are listed, it's consistent Naussaau. So being nosy on these things, I looked it up on Google Maps. There is no Nassau Street in Cranford, New Jersey. There does happen to be a Nassau Street, and there is a house number that is consistent with the one in our list. So if something isn't reaching those people, it's because you're listing the address incorrectly.
Yeah, so the address, and I'm looking it up, it comes directly from the certified list that we're provided by the assessing department in the town.
Huh,
So that's what they have on the assessing record.
NAU.
NAUSSAU Drive.
Yeah, if it's the one I'm looking at,
Okay,
yeah.
well, then I guess they'll get the mail in any case. And
I'm
one
pretty
other,
sure if they weren't getting their tax bill, they would have by now fixed it.
well,
Or
that
maybe
may
not.
very well be. And I had one other tiny little typo, grammar error that, being the drama queen, the grammar queen, I can't overlook. And it's in the cover letter. It's the second paragraph, and I don't have it on the screen in front of me. I'm not sure I can put it on without losing myself, but I'll
Is this the
try.
town cover letter?
The Town of Orleans cover letter.
Yeah.
And it says,
We think we know what you're
We've-
going to say.
we've already-
It's already been edited.
the
Carol.
subject and verb agreement
Correct.
thing.
Yeah, so it was originally these organisms is dependent on phosphorus.
That's the one.
Yep, so we changed it to, we just made those revisions this morning, and we changed it to these organisms are dependent on phosphorus. So good catch,
Well,
Carol.
Thank you. Those things
Kudos
just
to
leap
you.
out at me and I can't let them go.
I don't know whether there are any other general comments. I have a couple of other picky things like that. So I don't know whether this is time for those kinds of things. Any other general comments anybody wants to make?
Good
Okay.
job.
Okay, I've got 2 screens going here, so I have the document on one and the meeting on the other. In the first paragraph where it says, last sentence, there are many months of study and discussion. I think you could call that many years. This project has been underway for a very long time.
Yeah,
First paragraph of what?
The cover.
Description?
The
The
cover
cover.
letter. The last sentence
Orleans.
of the first
says- yeah,
paragraph.
Second to last line in that paragraph.
You want to share your screen, Carolyn?
I could do it if you'd like.
I've got it on 2 different computers here.
I could
so-
do it. I could do it, Carolyn. Would you guys like me to do that?
It might make the discussion a little easier.
All right, I'll do that, and anybody can kick me out if you want me to. All right, so it's right here.
there we go.
I think that's helpful. Thank you.
Great. And I guess then going back to, I don't have the page, but I can find it, the project description.
Sure, I know where that is. Yep.
I'll find it.
You're probably seeing this thing in your sleep.
Well, it had been a while, honestly, and then
I
it,
know, for all of us.
yep.
In describing the pieces of property that abut this pond. Guess it's in
It's right here.
project description 2.0.
Yep.
It talks about there being residential and conservation land. I think we need to put in there that there are also 2 town landings, which makes the town also an abutter.
Hmm.
Do you see that, Hannah?
Is the landing on Harvey's Lane Town? I thought that was OCT.
No, it looks like it is. I'll go down to that
Don,
for you
what
guys.
was it, Pochit Road there?
No,
Yeah,
This one on-
so-
Yeah, Pochi is town, but I thought the one at the end of Harvey's Lane was.
Oh, there's an
It
access. Sorry.
doesn't look like it because if you look at the line, can you see this okay? If you look
Yep.
at that line
Yep.
that's drawn, so it looks like the OCT ends just north of Harvey's Lane, and then there's this
Okay.
little segment between that and the Catano parcel that looks like, I'm guessing that's Town Landing. This one is identified as Town Landing.
Okay,
This
good to
one is
know.
not. I don't know if that's something, Carolyn, that we should make as an edit to this figure as well, as to call this Town Landing.
I think we need to check it out. It is the end of the road there, and certainly people have used it as a public access
Yeah, I
spot for
referenced
swimming.
this with the, where is it? There's the abutter map, right here. And so it's right here,
Right,
and I can't tell based on, the Town Landing is up here between
right.
Betsy's and Jansen. And let's see.
I don't think it's numbered in any way, so it's hard to tell from that. It wouldn't be on that list.
Yeah, I think this is the landing.
75, yeah, I think I was gonna say,
So
I think it's that.
It's really this one here.
Mhm.
That we're just not, and it looks like basically the roadway,
I think it's the
Right.
roadway
you know,
layout.
just continues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the roadway doesn't have an ownership technically associated with it. It's just a town-owned road. It
Yeah.
would if it was a private road, because it isn't. It's basically
Right.
the road layout.
Well, I think we need to say there's at least 1 town landing in this
I think it looks
paragraph.
like 2, honestly, Carolyn.
There are
I
2.
I had thought that
Yeah,
was.
I would
part of
call 2.
OCT, But that's, yeah,
Okay,
looks like 2.
Okay, so if it's fine with you all, I can label this little segment Town Landing as well, if you'd like me to.
okay.
I
And
would
then it
not
needs
label
to-
that as a town landing. It's not an official town landing of the town of Orleans, but it is
Sure.
property that goes to the water. I would just leave it as such.
Leave it like this. You don't want me to say town of
Town-owned
Orleans.
land.
You could say town road. It's not a town landing, though.
Okay. Harvey's land is there,
Shall we
so
just
maybe
say
it's fine.
town-owned land? Because we've got 2 different properties and they're not necessarily official landings, but it does sort of encompass them.
1 is an official town landing, the one on Pochit Road.
So do I just leave this empty, unlabeled?
I would
George,
call
what's
it
your
town
call?
road.
Town road. Understood.
If you unmute me momentarily, I'm just going to show you a map that shows 2 town landings on Uncle Harvey's Pond.
You are unmuted.
I just unmuted myself, but I mean, you can't
Oh.
see my map when I hold it up.
Yes, again.
Oh, okay. Can you see that?
Higher. Good.
All the town publications show 2 TLs on Uncle Harvey's Pond.
Hmm.
I mean, the ones they send out to the public. The public,
Yeah,
Right.
But George is our planner and he's telling you that it's a town road, but not an official town landing.
that's, I believe that's a publication that the Chamber of Commerce puts out on an annual basis.
It hasn't been vetted.
yeah, I just know that DPW maintains it as a town landing so that
It is a
people
town
can
road, right?
walk and fish.
Okay, I'll make that adjustment.
Carolyn,
Yes, Judy?
I'm a trustee on the Orleans Conservation Trust and that is correct, what is shown. The property, our property starts on the left side if you were looking out over the pond. So there was a question about whether OCT came further over. It does not. It stops at the road. It stops at the road.
Okay. Another question someone has asked is in alternative in 4.0 of the section of project description. Let me find it too. There's a spelling error there that needs to disappear. And then in discussing the possibility of aeration or something of that kind, in alternative 3, maybe Judith, you can help us with this. And the last line says, electricity costs for operation of this unit are estimated at 175 annually. With your experience now with
For
Sarah's
aeration?
Pond?
I'm-
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Well, the one on Sarah's Pond isn't aeration, it's oxygenation.
I realize that. but
It's a
can you
totally
give-
different concept and approach than aeration. So I really couldn't speak to what the cost for aeration would be.
Okay, can you give us a ballpark of what you're,
Can't, we metered it last year. And when we
Okay.
start getting some data back, then we'll share.
okay,
Certainly
All right.
significantly beyond the $35 that was estimated.
Yeah.
Significantly beyond that, but I just don't even want to go there until we have a couple months of metered electricity to be able to say.
okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else have any questions?
I have a question about the process, not the document.
Okay, let's go to that.
If the committee approves starting to move forward with this process, I'm not sure whether the letter and George probably knows the answer. Does this need to go through the selectmen and the town administrator first before a notice of intent and the affidavit and all that you were discussing goes out? Or what is the town procedure for this?
This has been around for so long. This recommendation was
forget-
made to the Board of Selectmen about 2 years ago, I think. And I think you should go back to the Board of Selectmen before you proceed. You can send out this letter, see what kind of response you get, as Matt indicated, and then do some outreach. The selectmen are aware that this is the recommendation, that this is your committee's recommendation. So when we get into the funding, the original funding that was set for this project was some wastewater money that's been closed out, but I have another funding source from a different year that lists freshwater work. So that's intact. I just have to get approval from the town administrator to use that. Um, I would think that you could proceed with the outreach, as many committees do. They do outreach to the public, but then before proceeding with the actual filing, make sure your Board of Selectmen's on board.
Thank you,
Okay, that's what I thought the process was, so that this would be sent out.
So-
We would get the results, do any outreach we needed to do, and then it would go to the Board of Selectmen, because ultimately the signer of this to go to this Conservation Commission is the town manager, and he will not sign it without consultation with the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
Plus, I think that probably the Board of Selectmen would appreciate getting it after there had been outreach, public input, whatever modifications, et cetera, rather than at the beginning of that process.
Right. Okay, so Scott, do you and your folks have any questions about where we need to go from here? Modifications?
One of my questions, I guess, is regarding legal review by town's council and whether or not, I agree with George in terms of the timeline. That's what I believe BSC and myself had felt we would do, which is present this to the parcel owners. We don't feel that it's necessary to present it to the Board of Selectmen until we have approval from the people who actually own the land to do the work. So once we've worked, on explaining this process to them and the plan to them, and we have their signatures, we would then, present it to the Board of Selectmen for, an update as far as that goes, because we do need town manager sign off. But I'm just wondering, when do we wait until after meeting with parcel owners and answering their questions to get legal counsel to review this, or when should we bring them in?
Well, with regard to the abutter issue, I think you've heard from town council. My understanding is you could submit something to the Conservation Commission when you're ready. And it would be up to the CONSCOM whether they are willing to open a hearing if you don't have unanimity among the property owners. And, they may ask for that kind of counsel. So there is a check-in point that makes some sense. Why don't we see how far you get with the 12 abutting property owners?
Sure. So I don't think we have, I don't know, Matt and Hannah, I don't know if you guys have any other questions to ask the committee or to discuss. I think I believe we're in good shape to then move to the next step.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it just sounds like the next step is to send out everyone's comfortable with us sending out the letter. We already made, excuse me, the one edit on the town's letter there for the abutting parcel owners, and see how those come back. And then from there, we can set up some kind of a call meeting or something. Carolyn's right. We were talking about doing a couple of different things, meet and greets, or, going out and knocking on doors, and a lot of that stuff's out the window, but hopefully we can still reach out to the people that we need to and try and get a consensus on it as much as we can.
Okay, so would you, Scott or Matt or whoever's in charge here, send me the final as you edited it this morning?
Yes, we will.
Hannah
Okay.
emailed you one this morning. I don't know, Hannah, does it have
It was
every
at
change?
9:40.
Yeah, it was just before we signed on, because we were all meeting earlier, the three of us, just to kind of make sure we cleaned up all those
But
little
I've been
things.
updating as we go, so we can have one.
Okay,
Yeah, we could
perfect.
send one. We could send one right at the end of the meeting.
I saw it, but I didn't have a chance to open it at that
Yeah,
point, so.
No, that's fine. We know it was kind of last minute, but we'll shoot you one a little after the meeting, and that'll be kind of the final clean copy that we'll utilize to go out from there, I think.
Okay. Do I have the
Carolyn,
approval?
will you shoot that around to all of us?
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
do I have the approval of the committee to proceed?
So
I'm
moved.
s- I'm
Second.
seeing nodding heads. Yes, Judy. Yes, Judith. Yes, Ed. Yes, Carol. What did I miss? That's it. Okay.
Who made the motion? I didn't get that.
Well, I said so moved, if that counts.
Judith?
I made the motion and Judy said so move.
And I did a second.
So
Carolyn, can I
Judith-
just interject a point of order?
Second, yeah.
Yes, George?
With these virtual meetings, all the votes that I've seen have been by roll call.
Roll call.
Okay,
So if you could just call out the members and ask if they're in favor, let them individually respond.
Okay, we'll do
Catch
that.
that on the record, whoever's doing the minutes.
Okay. So I'm asking for a yes vote or your vote on the motion. Carol Etzold,
Aye.
Judith Bruce,
Bruce, yes.
Ed Hafner.
Yes,
I'm having to scroll between screens here. Judy Scanlon,
Judy Scanlon, yes.
Carolyn Kennedy, yes. I think that's all of us. That's these
One
recused.
abstain.
Recuse.
Okay. Is that-
that's,
Okay. Thank you, Scott, Matt, and Hannah for your work.
Carolyn, will you be allowing any public speak on this matter before we move to the next topic?
The public speak is scheduled for the end of the meeting.
Okay,
Carolyn, I have one additional question. I just want to check in with the committee, provided that we're getting approval to move forward here with sending a letter out. If we start receiving questions or commentary back from parcel owners, and we have dialogue with parcel owners, either via electronic email or phone calls or Zoom calls, how should we keep track of that information? And then how would the committee like us to collect that information and provide it back to the committee?
I think you probably need to log it with what the question is, and if it's something very simple, just your response. If it goes into a long policy discussion, then you might need to get back to me and I to the committee to resolve if it's a larger issue.
Okay, so we'll just keep you posted via email. And then if it's something bigger, maybe we, a follow-up meeting.
Yes.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
I don't know how long it's going to be before we can schedule another one of these, but because most of the non-regulatory committees are not meeting at this point. Okay. Anything else on this issue? So we can say goodbye to Matt, Scott, and Hannah, and we'll see you on another day. Thank you
Take
for
care,
your
guys.
work.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
You all be
Thank you for
good.
coming.
Thank you for your time.
I,
Okay,
Ed,
the
you
next,
Ed, you can note that I'm rejoining the committee.
will do.
okay, the next item on the agenda is estuary sampling. This has been totally complicated by the COVID-19 virus. We have had 3 online meetings with members of the steering committee, if you will, people in other towns in the Pleasant Bay Alliance who all participate together in this. And there's been a great deal of doubt about what was meant by some of the regulations put out by the state. And George was kind enough last week to send a letter to Sarah Peak and Julian Sear, asking them to help us clarify. The sticking point is a note in the regulations that says that only members of the same household may be in the same recreational boat. And that's true for some of our sampling teams, but it's not true for all of them. So we have looked at a series of measures that we can take to hopefully keep people safe, wearing masks, gloves, sanitation, doing the collection of the samples outdoors. And we will write those all up, and when we have a training meeting for everyone toward the end of the month, we will go over all those. So only the people who felt comfortable doing this responded to my call for volunteers. And actually we have enough now to fill all the sites but 2, and I'm looking for 2 more boats. So I think we could do it. Some of the other towns are not as far along in finding volunteers. End of last week, we put together a total combined list of all the towns, which I received this morning. And one of the volunteer coordinators had not responded yet, so they're not all completely filled in, but it's a work in progress. It looks like it's going to happen if a couple of more towns decide they're going to get involved. So that's where we are with that. I don't know whether you have any questions. I'll keep you apprised. This has been a very long, protracted process to decide whether towns are on board or not. None of the towns have their town offices open yet. And so people involved are having a hard time getting permission and encouragement to go forth with this. So that's where we're at the moment.
So
We have another
Did I
meeting scheduled for next week. Yes, Carol.
did I understand you correctly that even though Orleans has enough volunteers to do this safely and legally in terms of family members only in boats, that if the other towns can't do it, that we're not doing it either?
Well, that is a question we're going to have to come to in about a week to make that decision.
Oh, okay.
We have about 5 of our mini boats with all family members. So we don't meet that criteria either.
Oh, okay.
And some are doing multiple stations to cover.
And I've asked a couple, Judy and one other person, to do multiple stations in order to, well, several boats actually, to do multiple stations in order to fill in the gaps. So we're only going to put like one person in the boat beside the driver to minimize the number of people that have to be in a certain space.
Mm.
Ed?
Should we discuss whether or not we should actually do sampling this year?
You can if you wish.
I'm a great believer in extrapolation, and I would be all right with missing 1 year's data.
Betsy? you
Mine
hand up?
was not related to that. I just wanted you to shoot us those 5 proposed dates again, just in case we are
Okay.
able to go forward.
Okay, I'll do that.
I think it's important to continue as long as we can continue. It will run into problems if we take a year off with recruitment in the future. And
Mm.
so I think if we can do it safely, I think my personal feeling is we should do it.
Judith?
Yeah, this will be the 21st year for me doing Quonset Pond and
Right.
having done most of our freshwater ponds for 20 years. Yes, you can extrapolate, but I will tell you that the first time that you don't have data,
Right.
it's the first time that it's something happened that you need to know what happened that year and what that was. And you're just kicking yourself for not having done that. I mean, even with Sarah's Pond already, I stopped mid-September last year. And I wish I hadn't. There was 2 or 3 more weeks of data that we really needed for that pond in the fall. And now we don't have it. So anytime, you never have, anytime you ask a scientist, they will tell you there's no such thing as too much data. You never miss the times you do it, you miss the times you don't. And I don't think there's any reason not to. I mean, I think it can be really tough to do 2 stations. As I said, Carol and I would do 2 stations, but it just depends on how far away they are, since there's time involved getting a kayak on and off the car. But it's doable, and I think it would be a shame not to.
Judy?
Just to follow up on Ed's comment, one of the main goals is to look at changes over time. And as you know, we have very dynamic inlets at both Nauset Estuary and Pleasant Bay. And those inlets have continued to migrate since last summer. Conditions have changed. So that's another reason why monitoring should continue if it can, because the conditions are not the same. from year to year or even from week to week sometimes. So,
Right.
Yeah, and I think since we're so close to having a functioning sewer system, we hope that we're going to depend more and more on this data to know whether that system is helping our waters.
Right.
Once we get it up and running. So those that don't wish to participate have opted out, and there are some who have. And all the ones who are on my list are now ones who have opted in, knowing what the risks are and what we intend to do about the being as sanitary and clean as possible. So, Ed, your name's not on the list this year.
Yeah, it's regretful, but you know, a pandemic like this is 1 in 100-year event, apparently. And so we have health issues in our household, and so I'm trying to be extra safe. So I just raised the question. I know other people, I mean, in fact, if I look now at the screen, I see we are all in the 65 possibly plus age group.
not yet, Ed.
Shame
we
on you
should-
for saying that.
Shame on you.
One
Not
or
yet.
two exceptions, maybe. So, you know, I'm just raising it because I think it should at least be raised as a possibility. I mean, I get it that you've been doing this for 20 some years, and it is important work, no question, but whether or not 1 year's worth of data is, you know, worth the risk. I get it that people are volunteering and everyone makes their own choice.
Well, and
That's fine.
I should have said, because I absolutely feel that nobody should feel an obligation to do this
Right.
or to feel any kind of judgment or shame for not doing it.
Right.
I just think it's and I don't think we should be encouraging non-residential teams to team personally. I don't think that's a good practice on the part of the town. But for single people teams who want to go out on their own, or for residential teams of people who are already living together, I see absolutely no problem with
Right.
going forward with this. And anyone who
Yeah.
doesn't feel comfortable should not in any way feel that they should be doing this.
Yeah, it's fine for individuals or family members. I see no problem with that particularly, but
Yeah.
it's just the other groups that seem to be possible danger.
Right.
Okay. Carol, did you have a comment?
I do. If, given all of that, and assuming that we may not get a full complement of sites covered, is there any way that we can prioritize which sites might be the ones most vulnerable to the loss of this year's data? In other words, like the ones near the inlets.
Yes, that's why we put together as a group the list that we put together last week with all the towns, so that
Okay,
we can look at the whole list and make those decisions.
okay.
Judy?
Yeah, just to add, Carol, I think I remember when we were on a meeting with Carol Ridley and Bob Duncanson, that Bob, they wanted to see the list after the coordinators had talked to their respective people, see the list, see who's available, and then they were going to talk to Dr. Howes and determine if there are any stations that could potentially be skipped for this year and which ones are critical and all that, so that they can make a decision on sampling what they're going to do, their respective towns. So that's yet to come. First, we need to know who's available right now and who's willing to go and can go
Yeah.
safe.
So that's what's happening today and tomorrow, is to make that decision,
Right.
Uh-huh.
of what could be dropped.
I think something just came in too. I was.
William, can you wait till the public speak at the end of the meeting?
Okay, it just has to do with this. I just wondering if Mill Pond is on your list of sampling sites.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Two locations, right, Carolyn? Little Mill and the,
Yeah, it's a little cove off of Mill and Mill. Okay. So, I am still awaiting responses from two folks in terms of our boats and the decisions that Dr. Duncanson will make with Dr. Howes in the next 2 days. And at that point, I think we should have our list and decisions. And basically, we've got 90% of it.
Carolyn, at 10:08, Carol Ridley did send an updated list with, I guess, the responses from all the people. So you can look
Okay.
at it after the meeting.
Okay, well, I sent her just before this, your acceptance of doing WMO3. And she may have ones from other people too, so I could actually go look at that at this point.
Yeah, well, this is an updated list, so
Okay. She didn't have one information from one of the coordinators.
she
Okay.
mentioned Jane and somebody just responded or something.
Okay, so I was in the lab the other day and the back hallway has been cleaned up, which it hadn't been for months. But they've stocked in there a lot of supplies, which obviously they're going to use for the town. So it's going to be tight to even do the putting together the kits, but we'll work that out. If we have to do it outdoors, we'll do it outdoors. So I think we're moving along on that. We've put in our order for supplies with SMAST. So I think we've done all we can do on our end. And if I can find 2 more boats, we'll be in great shape. If not, we'll prioritize what we can do, the folks we have. So that's about all I can tell you on that subject at the moment, I think. So the next item on the agenda is the Dredge Committee.
Hello,
And,
I just said hello, I'm ready.
okay, so I sent you out information that Betsy acquired from the Dredge Committee and the proposal that they have put together for the totality of the dredge needs of the town as they see it. So Betsy, go for it.
Okay, well, the actual listing on our agenda is Dredge Committee, discuss related items in warrant. So
Yes.
I went back to the warrant just to see what was in there. So I don't have a full inside track here, but I wanted to give you as much information as I could. So in the warrant, there's a $3 million for dredging of Nauset Estuary, and it's showing up under fiscal year 22. But I do believe this is the original allocation that the Board of Selectmen did way back when Alan McLennan was there.
Are you talking about a warrant article, Betsy, or are you talking about the capital improvement plan?
This is the capital improvement plan.
'Cause
Okay.
there's no warrant.
Oh, sorry.
Well, there is
Capital-
a warrant article, but that's by petition.
Yeah,
I'll address that separate.
Okay.
So I'm just pointing out that I believe that 3 million was originally a placeholder from quite some time ago. Woods Hole Group is actively working with both the Dredge Committee, but particularly Kelly, in trying to move forward with Eastham. So the biggest issue is whether or not Eastham is willing to move forward on some of the proposals. The Nauset Estuary stakeholder group is comprised of both Eastham and Orleans. When I checked with the chair of the DAC last week, stakeholders for Orleans have been chosen, but they do not know if Eastham has selected their stakeholders. And John Kelly is also on that, as is Mark Matheson, and I forget one other, I can't think
Nate.
of his name.
Nate,
Nate
Yeah, but
Sears?
also, I'm not sure Nate is a stakeholder. The other
I-
selectman, Kevin Galligan is on it. So there's a mix of DAC and Board of Selectmen, and they will be proceeding with the Woods Hole group. Then the second one, which took me by surprise, is a petition on, I don't know, you probably don't have your thing with you. I'm looking for the actual number of that warrant.
45.
Thank you, 45, I'm looking. Okay, so 45 kind of took me by surprise.
Me too.
I emailed the chairman of DAC to inquire who had put that forward. And what I want to be sure our committee does, and I'm assuming Carolyn is the chairman, this will fall to you, that when this comes up at the town meeting on the 20th, I think it's very important for someone to stand up and explain that work in freshwater ponds is done by the Marine and Freshwater Quality Committee in conjunction with the scientists, and that a notice of intent is always used to proceed with any remediations in any ponds. I believe, and perhaps Judy can help me here, I believe the statement that loaded sediment is smothering the springs and seepages at the bottom of these water bodies and is impacting the health of fish and aquatic life. I would understand that groundwater moves through these ponds from the upside to the downside, and I don't believe there's any impediments. And then the last sentence, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but the last statement says that they want to restore the natural levels of their marine life. And obviously freshwater ponds don't have marine life in them. So I feel we need to clarify what the process is and get that back out in the public. I did send to DAC chairman the 4 pages from the report that you just reviewed for Uncle Harvey's Pond, saying this is a sample of the process that is followed for ponds when remediation is being considered. So I thought it would be helpful to him to see all the steps and what needs to be done to propose a remediation effort.
George, are you still with us?
He's
I am
muted.
here, yes.
Okay, in the warrant, this article says that the Board of Selectmen voted 5-0. And then it says that the article is deferred or something to that effect.
Indefinitely.
So
Just
so
the
did that mean they voted to defer it?
The recommendation in the warrant is to indefinitely postpone.
Definitely postpone, okay. Does that mean that nobody can, does that mean that somebody could get up from the audience and ask for a vote on it and
Well,
discussion?
At the town meeting, the petitioner or representative will make the motion and will then present the case for the passage of the article if they still want to go forward. And then after that petitioner, then others are invited to speak. And I think the selectmen will be recognized first to give their perspective on it.
Okay. So one or more of us should be ready to,
Does the selectmen's recommendation that it be indefinitely postponed become a motion that then gets voted on prior to the article being voted on?
The petitioner makes a motion initially when the article comes up. Somebody
Right.
makes a motion to approve. I think the selectmen will merely give their opinion to the town meeting and then make a subsequent parallel motion that gets we go out one way and we come back the same way, motion 1 and 2, and then you take motion 2 and then back to motion 1. You
Right.
follow me?
So-
Yes.
So the selectmen's motion to indefinitely postpone gets voted prior to the motion to approve the article.
Yes, right.
Yes.
Okay.
it's kind of a useless article because unless I completely misread it, there are no dollars attached.
It
So
appears
this
to be
would
a sense of the meeting.
This would be, okay, sense of the meeting. So you've got an unfunded article, which means that there is nothing that happens under this article. It's a sense of the meeting, yeah.
Judy?
Yeah, when I read the article, the first question that came to mind is what is are the townspeople being asked to approve? It says permit and dredge. Wasn't clear if that's a regulatory permit. I'm assuming that's what they meant, but or is it to allow and dredge? You know, the article definitely needs some work before it really comes before the townspeople. But you know, there's a lot of, I think education is needed, that dredging is already evaluated as part of the process that the town has already put in place when it comes to our freshwater ponds. And, you know, there's just a whole bunch of other obstacles. You know, disposal of the material would be problematic. The small ponds are privately owned. The large ponds are owned by the state. Access to these ponds by a dredge, and a dredge, if the intent of the article, and it's not clear, but if it's to give another reason why the town should purchase a dredge, it's not, I don't know equipment regarding dredges, but a marine dredge may not be appropriate for freshwater ponds.
Wouldn't be.
Access is a real challenge, even if you could get through all the regulatory hurdles. Because if the sediments contain any contaminants on the list, it you know, disposal is a real challenge. Then you have ponds in the ACEC, you have endangered rare species. I don't think whoever generated the article was really aware of what is involved with the freshwater pond dredging. But we looked at it with Uncle Harvey's. It's being looked at as an option. It's always a management strategy that's evaluated already, and the town has a process in place to do that.
I just
Leah?
wanted to be sure that we would be prepared. I'm glad Judith clarified. It sounds like once the selectmen vote, that the issue cannot be brought to vote. So I think it's a moot point.
Oh, no, only if town meeting approves the selectmen's recommendation to.
Correct.
refer.
Yes, so if the town meeting doesn't approve that, then they could move forward, then we
Then they
should
could
be
move-
prepared to make the points that Judy just made concerning what the process is for the town.
But even if all of that happens, I guess what I'm saying is what George had said, which is at the end of the day, town meeting approving this article is simply a sense of the town, a sense of the meeting. It does not provide any funding. It does not provide any means to move forward with anything. It simply says that the town meeting thinks it would be a good idea to pursue this.
But I think
That's
the
all that
town meeting should only be considering the facts. These facts are inaccurate, so someone needs to correct the facts.
That's another whole issue.
They can't make an informed decision at town meeting because they don't know all the details that those are just some of them. There's many more, you know.
So I'm totally agreeing with you, Judy, and I think maybe some of what's happening is there is interest in looking further into dredging. And I honestly don't think that we have done as much as we could. There are a lot of new systems and methods out there. There's a lot of things that have not necessarily come up in terms of what we've done in looking at dredging. Dredging these small private ponds is not a big permitting issue. Doesn't go to DEP, doesn't go to Army Corps of Engineers. It's not a huge big deal. It is when it's marine dredging or great pond dredging, but smaller pond dredging, the local conservation commission approves it. They've just done a couple in Barnstable. There's a couple in other areas. I'm not saying we should be running around dredging all of our small ponds, but I am saying that I think that as a committee, we have not done complete due diligence and fairness in looking at dredging as an option for some of these.
Well, we haven't been charged with looking at all the ponds. I mean, we had a priority list and we've just started that process, and it does involve this committee. which I think would be important, that the Dredge Advisory Committee starts talking to this committee about some of these issues so that they can become informed themselves.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, again, a sense of the meeting and some interest here in pursuing it, I think.
But
is-
I do respectfully disagree that the small ponds do not offer permitting issues. I think within the ACEC, they probably do.
They don't.
Well, I
Don't.
I would disagree.
There's still no DEP involvement and there's still no Army Corps of Engineers.
But if you have rare and endangered species, I know you have to
Yeah,
determine
then that,
water
the
mussels.
Natural
and that-
Heritage will come in and look at it, but like
And that-
many NOIs,
pick it
it's
up.
not a big deal.
But that will kick it up to the state level.
Okay,
I'll
I
proceed
also
to the
s-
next item, or do you have
I
something on
s-
that topic?
now I sent to you the feasibility study that was done by the Dredge, by Woods Hole for the Dredge Committee.
Mhm.
So I just thought you would want to be aware of that and look through the maps that are in it. It's interesting. I didn't count them all up, but there are a number of them that would dredge right through what are our water quality testing sites. And I would hope that they have, under, as we have recommended several times, talk to Dr. Brian Howes about this plan, because it would totally change his plans for doing recalibration of the models for both the Nauset Estuary and Pleasant Bay Estuary. So
Yeah, and
Well, I
I
would-
don't think that Meeting House Pond has previously been dredged despite what they,
That's correct.
I don't believe. it.
So just to put this into perspective, the document you have, it's a little misleading because the title says Orleans Dredge Purchase Feasibility Study. But the line below that says Dredge Volume Data Set. Basically, this document simply shows the locations and the proposed volumes based on the research that they have done. And in order to determine whether or not it's cost effective for the town of Orleans to purchase a dredge of some type, you need to know not only the dredge volumes, but what material you're dredging. So for example, in Town Cove, all of that material is not suitable for dewatering. And therefore, mechanical dredging, loading it onto a barge and offloading it at, say, the Goose Hummock area would be the only way to dispose of this material. So this really helps the dredge committee determine, do we have a significant enough volume of material to purchase a specific type of equipment? So for example, just a barge with a backhoe type excavator on it could be used for mechanical dredging of silt and muck that we can't use. The suction dredging, or I'm not using the right term, the hydraulic dredging would primarily be in areas out at the farther end of Nauset, where you're dealing primarily with sand, which can be directly dewatered and reused. And if you look carefully at the Nauset Estuary figures, the summary table on page 10, what it shows you is that the total volume, the total dredge volume with the 50-foot alternative, which at this stage of the game is the only alternative the Board of Selectmen have approved, is about 137,000 cubic yards. But if you look carefully at the figure and go up that column and read the line behind barrier is 122,000 cubic yards of that 137,000 total. If either the town of Eastham or the National Seashore deny hydraulic dredging behind the barrier beach, the volume that would be excavated through there would be very minimal. So I think you can see very clearly that the decision as to whether or not to use the county dredge services or to purchase our own dredge hinges on whether or not dredging will be allowed behind the barrier beach. And that determination has not been made. So that's the really critical thing for you to get from the Nauset estuary summary. If you go to the Pleasant Bay summary, which is on, let's see, Pleasant Bay summary is on page 18. You can see that the amounts are very minimal. The total volume they're talking about is 14,000. Many of these haven't been dredged in 20 or 30 years. So, you know, we're probably talking about maybe a 10-year window. And much of this material is not suitable to be dewatered and reused because it has too much silt and other material in it. So the next step for the Woods Hole group is to take this these volumes and try to match it to equipment and do a cost benefit analysis. So this is really just like fact gathering. This has no conclusions, but I did share with you my conclusion that the hinge figure is the 122,000 behind the barrier beach, and whether or not the town would be able to proceed forward with the permit. Carol?
And there's another question, of course, about the area behind Nauset Beach, and that is any dredging, whether it's our own dredge or the county dredge, whoever's dredge or what kind it is, how long is dredging behind the spit going to last? And we need to do it all over again anyway.
And we all know that the answer could be one storm, 1 year. They are showing in subsequent years after the 122,000 cubic yards are showing annually dredging 70,000 additional yards each and every year.
Right.
So
when
it's 50% every year,
It's a
Well,
lifetime commitment.
every
the-
succeeding year.
when I met with the town of Eastham's harbor master, I asked him specifically how many boats are anchored behind that barrier beach. And right now the total is 12. Of those 12, only 6 of those boats are owned by Orleans. So you'd be excavating 70,000 cubic yards to try to keep that channel open for a longer period of time. Do bear in mind that Alan McLennan's original proposal that the Board of Selectmen agreed to was to do all the interior dredging and exclude behind the barrier beach and secure those permits and get moving on it. After Alan left, there was a change in thought process, and they decided to go back, and since they were doing permitting, to do permitting for the whole thing. So as I said previously, we have to wait to see what Eastham and the National Seashore plan to do, but you have to make the proposal to the Eastham Conservation Commission. So you wouldn't have an answer until you've done all the work to be able to produce the filing to go before the Eastham Conservation Commission and the process for the National Seashore.
But Orleans is going ahead, but it still would be only 12 boats. At max.
Orleans cannot move forward unilaterally. They require the National Seashore and Eastham to agree. There is no option on land that is not owned by the town of Orleans without the appropriate approvals of the Conservation Commission and the National Seashore.
Because I'm just
And
saying, why can't we nix it now?
Uh,
Based on,
that is not my call to make. We have a dredge advisory committee to consider all these facts. We have the Woods Hole group advising them, and I'm assuming they will reach a conclusion after we get the red tide cyst study, which is due very shortly. We have another the Dredge Advisory Committee meeting is tonight, which is going over the data shared with you. There's an additional meeting next Monday with Leslie Fields to talk about the red tide cyst study. We should have the results of whether or not putting the red tide cysts out on the beach and letting them dehydrate, whether it actually killed them or not. Because you do not want to move red tide cysts into areas that are not affected by the red tide. You
Right.
don't want to be moving it around the estuary. So there's many studies going on, Carol, and we need to wait until we get all the data so that we can make an informed decision as to what it will cost and what will the benefit be. And I'm still waiting to see a full cost benefit analysis from the Woods Hole Group.
Judy?
A while back, I sent an email to the Dredge Advisory Committee Chair, Charlie Carlson, with some of my thoughts, scientific-based thoughts on it, and also some recommendations. We reach out and talk to the Carol Ridley, Dr. Duncanson with the Pleasant Bay Alliance, also reach out and talk to the scientists at SMAST and also Center for Coastal Studies, and also Graham Geis regarding work that's been ongoing. He did respond and say that he would investigate some of the information that I have given him, and he would reach out and talk to some of the people that I recommended he talk to. So hopefully,
Thank you.
I will ask if he has followed through on those recommendations, and if so, which parties he has spoken with.
yeah, and he really does need to talk to Dr. House. I mean, there are a lot of things that I can see, and I'm sure that they will be able to inform the Dredge Advisory Committee on some of that because of all the long-term monitoring that they've been doing. But one thing I did communicate to Charlie was, you know, with regard to any plans to dredge Lonnie's Pond and the connection to Lonnie's Pond, that they should absolutely not touch that area right now. If they change the circulation in any way for Lonnie's Pond, it could, and it probably would, negate all the work the town has done with the oyster demonstration project. So they shouldn't even think about touching that area.
Judy, right now, how long is the project scheduled to last?
Well, that's a question for George, but I know we're going into another season. The
Yeah.
town, you know, and this water quality monitoring ongoing. There are there are tide gauges in. That was another issue. I wanted to make sure Charlie knew that there was a grant that was issued to the Pleasant Bay Alliance, which includes Orleans. Orleans contributed, I believe, some matching funds for that. There are tide gauges already in, such as Meeting House Pond. Graham Geis has had one in there since the 2007 breach. I believe Woods Hole Group was proposing to put some tide gauges in where some already existed. So I did, again, recommend to Charlie to find out where there is potential duplication of effort. And that what's going to come out of that SNEP grant is called, which I believe was supposed to be completed this year. I don't know if COVID has changed that now. That the Dredge Advisory Committee could potentially use some of that information for their own goals rather than duplicate work that's already been done. So hopefully he's had a conversation with Carol Ridley. Hopefully he has had a conversation with Dr. House and some of the other scientific groups that have been working for years in Pleasant Bay and the Nauset Estuary as well.
I think part of the issue is, since it takes so long to get permits, there may be an assumption on their part that those studies would be complete before this dredging would occur. So that's why I will try to get into sync the dates for Lonnie's Pond and what the town is projecting timeline wise, and then figure out what the permitting dates are. COVID, I think, may have slowed down the permitting. So I'll try to be more firm on the dates so I can share that with the committee. And I think everyone knows that Judy is now the alternate on the dredging committee. So I think you will be attending tonight at 5:30.
if I can, we are going to get another delivery order, so I may,
Okay, well,
I'm sure
I'll
they're
touch
they're
base
reaching
with
out.
you. If you're not there, I'll touch base with you, but I thought that you did an extraordinarily thoughtful job laying out for the chairman all the places where we interface, where we need to coordinate, and where we need to set joint timelines. And I thank you for taking the time to do that, because all this history, if you just dropped into the universe here, what was written made sense. But if you look at
Right.
the tide gauges and the things that are already in, and especially with COVID, we are not going to have a penny extra
Right.
in the town of Orleans budget. We have to really be thrifty with how we proceed.
Yeah, and there's other issues too, such as diamondback terrapin nesting habitat, where they're dredge in the river. There's just a lot of things that still need to be looked at.
Yes, I agree. And hopefully I can present those concerns again as a follow-up to your memo.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, hope to see you all at town meeting with our masks on. I've met people in town who don't even recognize me, or unless you recognize the color of somebody's hair or whatever it is. or the
Well, you
way
have a
they
short
walk.
haircut now, Carolyn.
Yeah, I know. You can walk right by somebody and they have not a clue who you are. So I saw Sarah Peak's assistant in the store the other day, and I don't think she had a clue who I was as I walked by with my mask on.
Do we have
Anyway.
any idea how long it's going to last?
There's
A
the
year.
$50 billion question.
Yeah, that
year
is.
more.
Until they get a vaccine.
No. I mean, the town meeting, we're assembling at 10.
Oh,
They've shortened the number of things we're voting on. I mean, if it's sunny, I'm bringing an umbrella.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Don't know.
Big hat.
I think
Okay.
they're hoping for 2 hours or less, but you
Oh,
never. know.
really?
But you
There's-
never know with town meeting.
But there's
Okay.
Your lunch.
still 40 some articles.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's not my definition of short.
So bring your lunch
Well,
Yeah.
or a
All
snack
right.
of some kind. Okay, so thank you, Betsy, for that update. And the next item on the agenda was the April freshwater pond sampling, which is obviously completed. And I just wanted to thank both Judith and Lara for really pitching in and doing lots of ponds. We got 14 done. And by working with Ed Eichner, we were able to move the samples on to SMAST with his help.
and to you, and Judy, as
A
well?
whole lot of driving.
for
Huh?
your ponds? To you and Judy as well, for the ponds you did?
Yeah, thank you. So obviously we won't even hear results of that till next spring. They're working in the usual schedule and it's probably slower.
Oh, Carolyn, any idea on the Crystal Lake draft report?
George, are you listening?
coming.
I am listening, and I appreciate you letting me be off video so I can
Work.
multitask while I'm listening. Why don't we just move, can we move into the next agenda item and I'll just address it there?
Yes, let's
Okay.
do that. The next agenda item is the impact of the pandemic on the work of the committee, short and long term. And that's why I invited George to come because he's got his finger on the budget.
Yeah, so you have a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of little programs that come out of the wastewater funding. I think presently we have like 6 current contracts with SMAS, some of which tend to drag on sometimes. But to answer your question, Betsy, the Crystal Lake plan is under contract. It's in the quote. It's ready to be done. Ed Eichner said it was the next thing he was going to turn his attention to.
It hasn't
I
been
just have
started?
to say, as a small business owner, if I had a due date of January 1st and I was staring down June, I would be fired.
And it hasn't been started yet?
I didn't say it hasn't been started yet. It is his intention to complete it. That's the next thing he's going to do. Obviously, all the data has been collected over a couple of years and assembled.
And where do we stand with Baker's Pond? We did the data collection. Have we eliminated that report at this point because
So-
of the budget?
Oh, funding.
So, well, let me just say that when this pandemic hit, there was concern about revenues because of restaurants and hotels and things like that. So revenues were expected to have a drop. The finance director and the town administrator asked asked all the departments to cut back 10% on their budgets, which we all did. In fact, I let Carolyn know I killed some of the our water sampling data that looked like we could live without. We went without whatever we could. And they're looking for authorizations that they can close out if the project for which the authorization was made is not going to be done or has been completed. So the finance director, town administrator went through and closed out some of these old wastewater authorizations that I had sort of been thinking we would use for freshwater work. Bearing in mind that through the efforts of Mike Domenica to get this rolling, you're really on a good streak here where you've got water quality data collected and planning efforts for most of the largest ponds in the town, followed by some level of implementation. As you know, with Uncle Harvey's, we got stuck on the implementation. So since a lot of you look like you're writing things, write these things down. We have a FY19 wastewater article approved in May of 2018 that still has $278,000 in it. It's not all yours. Everything's subject to the town administrator's allocation. But I've got his okay to use that for Lonnie's Pond for the Shellfish Project and for the continuing monitoring of Cedar Pond in this current calendar year in 2020. So that's 70,000, it's 40 and 30. The Uncle Harvey's Pond remediation project, if you move it forward without reiterating all that conversation, I'd like to reserve $50,000 in that because that will pretty much cover an alum allocation. The Baker's Pond Management Plan has 2 years of data collected. There was one more sampling season to be done, followed by the completion of the management plan. That is not currently funded. So Baker's is not slated to be done. You could worry about data getting stale if you don't move it forward. I think there's a good case to be made that you've got enough momentum and there's a lot of interest in these things to complete that plan. And that's probably a request, a vote to request it to me, and I can run it by the town administrator. He can get the okay from the Board of Selectmen without you having to participate any other way.
You mean to continue to collect the water quality data this summer, which would be the third consecutive year?
To complete the Baker's Pond plan. I think that number, the last number I had from the UMass was $37,000 for the coming year.
That's including this year's water quality monitoring?
Yes, that includes the sampling and the actual plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we need to make a motion to ask Carolyn to provide that document to you? Because I really think Baker's Pond is such a jewel in this town.
Yeah.
And we know we had the water runoff issues and we thought it was resolved. And then there was a question as to whether it was resolved. I would really, really like to see the Baker's Pond completed. I think that's a $37,000 investment in our future.
Well, you need.
Okay,
you need
let's
water-
let George, let's let George finish his list and then we'll get back to
Oh,
that.
more,
Yeah.
okay.
You know, I might recommend that you just get through the town meeting and make sure everything shakes out as such. But you know, that's certainly your call if you want to push a little more. The other things that I foresee with those funds, Lonnie's Pond shellfish monitoring is going to have to continue next year because that'll be the last year of a demonstration project. That's $40,000, and that is the way in, the way out, the sediment regeneration and monitoring in several locations in the pond. So I think that's a good investment. In fact, that is the only monetary investment in the oyster project presently. on an
So
annual
George,
basis.
I think you might have been offline when we asked the original question. So for the Dredge Advisory Committee, it is fair to say that 2021, no dredging should be done at Lonnie's Pond as you complete the last year for the shellfish?
Yes, I would think that if you start to permit that, it's going to take you a significant amount of time, even from maintenance dredging. So
Right, but that's why I just want to be sure
Yeah.
of your timeline so that we dovetail our permitting timelines with what the town is planning to do with Lonnie's.
yeah, And if I were a taxpayer in the town of Orleans, I would want to see what the results were of this shellfish endeavor before mixing it
Absolutely.
in with other variables.
Yeah, yes. But I want to be sure another year is enough time that by 2022, you think it would be safe for us to consider a dredging permit?
I'm not saying that at all. By 2022, you might know that your oyster project is cleaning up the pond effectively and you want to double it. You know, we're at a 25% of
Right.
nutrient removal. Maybe you want to beef that up and see if you can clean up that pond using nothing but the shellfish.
Well,
So-
well, and just one point too, dredging for water quality improvement is not, it won't do that. It would be for navigation and safety purposes, yes, but not
Right.
water quality.
And that's my very question. For navigational purposes, in the year 2022, would we be disrupting SMAST's work if we move forward with a permit?
Well, I think there's a larger question you'll want to ask in that if you have an annual shellfish grow out project for water quality purposes, is it appropriate to dredge within a certain distance of that? Or are there some limitations on any dredging that you want to do if you have shellfish growing in quantity there?
And who would be best able to answer that, Dr. House?
Somebody who's not me. I don't know. Yeah, potentially that's part of the solution. I don't know. Woods Hole Group may have some expertise they could bring to bear on that. So just finishing up, the other use of the funds I would anticipate is the 2021 spring pond work, which congratulations to you all and thank you for going out in a weird year. But that's about $5,000 for the collection and equipment and analysis on that. So those are the things that I kind of program in my mind. That's about $200,000 worth of requests. So I've given you the ones that are done and the things that I have in my mind that we would use those funds for. They are authorized, through the town meeting for fresh ponds. I just have to have a confirmation from our town council to the finance director that we can use it indeed for all these purposes. And that's it.
George, do you see any concern with if the contractor hired to work at Uncle Harvey's Pond would prefer spring of 2021? Do you see any risk to our funds by not going in the fall?
The risks to your funds for the shellfish monitoring?
No, Uncle Harvey's Pond for the alum
Fresh-
treatment.
Fresh water, George.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, excuse me, shifting.
It's okay.
Those funds are there, and I am not aware that the town administrator intends to use them for anything else. I think if anything, he would like to eliminate future costs that have been authorized in the past so that he can make the budget work better in the future.
Okay, thank you very, very much for that update.
It's about as much as I have for you. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you for hanging in with us. It's been very helpful to have you with us. Do we want to go back and I assume the work in Lonnie's and Cedar Pond is already, as you said, already contracted, so we don't have any say over that and it's going to go on. Do we want to, as a group, make a recommendation that the funds be found to continue with the Baker's Pond so we get
Yes.
it's already 2 years of sampling have been done, that we get the third one done and the management plan done?
Yes,
So we will have done all our great ponds.
Yes.
Does that make
I-
sense to all of you?
yes. Do you
All
need
right.
an official motion?
I probably, yes.
I move that we request the balance of the funds to complete the third set of water sampling at Baker's Pond and the creation or the completion of the management plan for Baker's Pond.
Second.
Second by Judith. So we're going to do a roll call vote here. So Carol,
Yes.
Betsy,
Yes,
Judith,
Judith Bruce, yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Judy Scanlon,
Judy Scanlon, yes.
Carolyn Kennedy, Yes. And so I think we have a unanimous 6-0 on a motion to go ahead with Baker's Pond if George can find the funds to make that happen.
I
Good.
will
Get that
relay
done.
that to the town administrator and see if he's comfortable with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Sorry we couldn't see you.
Hey, you didn't miss anything.
He's not.
He's probably like me. I had a policeman knock on my door at 5 minutes of 7 this morning. I had to find some clothing to put on.
Oh, I have clothing on. I'm in my office, believe me. I'll say no more.
Sure.
TMI, George, TMI.
So where does that leave us on Crystal and Pilgrim?
The report was due on 1/1 for Crystal. It's tops on his list. I didn't hear a date.
Oh, okay.
Pilgrim, we gave input on and we never got it back. It went into that great hole that is often S-mast.
Hmm.
I
Oh, I
thought with Pilgrim, we had determined that the 24 properties that needed to be sewered was the only way that they could improve water quality. So I thought there was the question of permeable reactive barriers, whether we could do a sewer extension. I thought that actually went forward as a request. Is that true or not true?
I think I was waiting for us to get the report on Crystal so we could dovetail those two together because it makes
Oh.
sense to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been putting off hounding them about that. So that's another reason that we need the Crystal report as soon as possible because they are going
Absolutely.
ahead with putting together the Meeting House pond plan and it would
Yeah.
be tied into that.
Well, I
George,
would
did you
appreciate
get a-
that going in writing so that there's an understanding at SMAS that we've been holding the Pilgrim to consolidate with the Crystal. They may not be aware that we were holding the one waiting
I
for
thought
the
we
other.
got a final management plan from Pilgrim already.
We did,
Not
and
to
then
my
we
knowledge.
said,
I thought we got a
George?
draft. We gave a lot of input and I don't believe we ever got it back.
George, did you get a final on Pilgrim Lake?
I remember reviewing the draft. I remember a lot of input. And I'm going to check my files and I'll get back to you in a minute while you're talking about other things.
okay,
Okay,
If
But
it came
this-
back, it never came back to us.
I didn't see it.
I don't recall.
Okay, let's let George do his work there.
Okay.
The last thing on the agenda is public comment, and I don't know whether we have anybody who would like to,
I do.
okay, Betsy?
Okay, circling back to Uncle Harvey's Pond, I just want to assure you that I will email the Catanos and I will verify that mailing address. It's possible that the tax bills and everything are going through, but they may not be aware that that address is potentially incorrect based on Carol's research. So I will follow through on that.
I'm just wondering if it, and also if it would pose a legal problem down the line that,
Right, because what's on their deed has to match.
yeah.
Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
I interject? I already sent that down to the tax assessor. It's been corrected.
Oh,
So it was incorrect.
I sent it down to him. He's made the change. He verified it. So you're all set.
Oh, good. Okay, so I will not email the Katanas. Okay. And then Judith, I will touch base with Dr. Wagner. I think for the abutters to Uncle Harvey's Pond, to have them have that current information of a very local pond would be extraordinarily helpful in increasing the comfort level of the two people who are uncertain.
And I think, I'm sure he would provide that to you.
I know he would. He's been wonderful. I just wish he would. He needs to build this out. We can't keep asking for favors.
I know.
And then the third thing is, since there seemed to be some question, originally 10 of the abutters signed a petition wanting to move forward with alum. People have died, people have moved. So things have happened since 2018. But in 2018, 10 abutters approved, and I had over 100 neighborhood signatures, not transfer station, not post office. Neighbors on streets abutting Uncle Harvey's Pond also wish to move forward with the LUM. So I'm just hopeful that this process is on track. I
So
thought that
maybe now we'll
notice-
be up to 12 and everybody can go home happy.
That would be wonderful, but I thought that notice of intent was extremely well written. I think Carol was right that they really captured a lot of the comments that we had provided to them. And I'm extraordinarily pleased to think that after a decade that we will finally move forward. It's thrilling. As I said to my son when I told him not to go in the pond last week. Maybe next time, dear.
There's always hope.
There's
Okay.
always hope.
Any
Now,
other
George
public
was looking up
comments?
something?
Mr. Brotherton has been very patient.
Yes.
Do you have, do you have other, I'm sorry, Carolyn.
I'm interested in the Mill Pond. You know, I've heard lots of things, and I'm sure you've already answered these questions for other people, but I just wanted to know how you're going to try to improve the quality of the water in Mill Pond. You know, I heard that they're not going to allow dredging, but I'm wondering if they could remove the rocks that are at the mouth of Mill Pond.
Well, that's a great debate, and this committee does not have the last word on that. It is part of the estuary management plan, and originally they were going to absolutely ignore it and work on other parts of the estuary. And I said, I didn't think the people around Mill Pond would be particularly happy with that, that suggestion, but that is what's in actually the management plan. Because I know a lot of folks who live there and would like to see some changes. So whether they will do something with there's a variety of other suggestions, and one was to put some kind of small package plant out there that would deal with the septic from that area. Another one is to look at the possibility of putting in a permeable barrier in that area that would take up the septic runoff moving in that direction. So I think that's still up for grabs, and I don't think any work has been done to create an update on that. But I think as soon as they get the sewers in the ground for the middle of town and they start working on Meeting House Pond, we're going to see what impact all that work has and potentially dredging on Mill Pond. Judy will give you some ideas in a minute when I call on her as to why those rocks are there and what impact there might be of taking them out. So hold on for that. Judy?
Thank you. William, it is a good question. I think that before anything could be discussed in any great detail, you would need to do a proper environmental assessment to determine what the impacts would be if you remove the race or the rock wall there. It is habitat. It is habitat for juvenile lobsters and many other species in there. You'd need to look at whether by removing it, you would open up the shoreline on the other side to more severe storm, wave action and cause erosion. And also definitely discussions have to happen with the scientists that have been working in the Nauset estuary to ask the question of whether removal of that would have any impact on water quality in Mill Pond. Maybe look at removal of a section of it to allow for better passage by boats, but maybe you don't want to remove the whole thing. These are all things that would be done with a detailed evaluation for that particular task. So just proceed with caution and ask the proper questions from the qualified scientists that can answer them.
But William, you should be aware that the Dredge Advisory Committee has put forward a proposal to do the kind of studies that Judy just described through the Woods Hole Group. But I think funding will be an issue. But they are definitely interested in pursuing that if at all possible. So Dredge Advisory Committee is really where that interest has been resurfaced. But the red tide cyst study is critical, because if by changing that race in any way, we increase the flow of red tide cysts out into the Nauset estuary and potentially beyond where the red tide cysts exist now, then you probably would not move forward. So that red tide cyst study is the next thing to look for in the next couple of weeks to see if that analysis has been completed.
So the red tide cyst study is already paid for, correct?
Well, there's several red tide cyst studies. One red tide cyst study was if it is dredged and it's left out in the sun or left out over the winter because you dredge in the winter time, does that kill the red tide cysts? That study is funded and the results should be in shortly. The Nauset Estuary Dredging Project, as conceived several years ago, did not include doing anything at Meeting House Pond. I believe, I don't know this for a fact, but I believe it was over concern that the density of red tide cysts in Mill Pond is like, I don't want to say 100-fold, but it's extraordinary compared to other portions of that estuary. So I think there was just an assumption made that with all that needed to be done to do the dredging permitting within that estuary, that they weren't going to address that at that point in time. The Dredge Advisory Committee has now re-brought that up. But as Judy mentioned, you know, juvenile lobsters, habitat, you would have to do a whole separate environmental study to see what would happen if there were adjustments made to that race. That is right now an unfunded thought. And I just don't know, given our current situation, if funding is likely to be added at this point in time. So there's, you know, between town meeting and the Dredge Advisory Committee, we haven't been able to meet for 3 months. You know, we're all just trying to catch up and get ourselves updated as to what, you know,
But you implied that the first thing to do would be to find out if the red tide cysts would be going out into the estuary would be prohibitive if you remove some of those rocks.
yes, some go out now, but the quantity is not, would be much more significant if the opening in the rocks was widened.
Right, but is that part of the study being done and paid for?
No, that's not part of that study. They were not looking at the density or the, in other words, you'd have to study the tides. You'd have to study, if you remove 5 feet of wall, what would it do? If you remove 10 feet of wall, what would it do? Judy is certainly much more qualified than I to comment on this, but I would assume that's a fairly significant study over a period of time to determine what would happen with the red tide cysts.
Well, and you need to determine what your goal is also. Is it for navigation and more in passage through there at any tide? I mean, you may find that water quality, again, it will not improve water quality. You may even find that, I mean, the water rips in there over those rocks. You may find that it's actually oxygenating the water as it goes over those rocks and it's beneficial. I don't know. That's a complete guess, but habitat inside, you know, because it's somewhat protected. It used to be habitat for sticklebacks and pipefish, or there used to be eelgrass up in there. I don't know if it's still there now. It's been many years. I remember collecting brittle stars and observing juvenile lobsters under the
Right,
rocks.
but you have the data that shows that Mill Pond water quality is bad. So the thing is, how do you improve it?
Right, and I would say that you need qualified scientists to answer the question as to whether it would do anything to improve water quality, because you do get a lot of
No,
tide
I'm not asking
in and out there.
you.
Septic,
The water quality is
septic,
bad. We want to improve it. So that's the
Right.
question.
So,
Right.
but
and septic is
so
your
with
main
the
problem.
first,
Wait a minute, let's wait one at a time. Judith?
okay, so generally speaking, when you're looking at water quality issues, you want to know what's causing the problem.
Right.
And generally, the first step is to address the source. So with Mill Pond, you probably do have some internal regeneration, which would speak to something like dredging, but your bigger input is probably septics. So that ends up, your fallback on that is soaring or permeable reactive barriers. Now, Carolyn mentioned small package plants. You can look at that. You could look at the alternative septics. Most of those over the years have been ruled out because they're just too costly. When they look like a bargain, when you look at the actual pound of nitrogen removed, you're looking at 2 and 3 times the cost of soaring or permeable reactive barriers. So once you've taken care of those external sources, then you can look at what are some of the other things to do that could improve the existing condition. And that's when you start getting into looking at things like water exchange, possibly dredging, et cetera. Very rarely will the state go along, frankly, with any of that because they tend to be temporary. So, you know, the dredging ends up being an annual event. Removing the rocks in the race, I don't know. I know when they looked at Muddy Creek and putting in that bridge in lieu of the culvert, there were extensive hydrology studies because the big concern was that it would just create sort of very little tidal exchange. They wanted to make very certain that there was a narrow enough opening so that you actually had a race, so that you had some movement of water, so that it wouldn't just be a very stable, same amount in, same amount out.
I'm going to ask Bill, are you a member of the?
That's all right.
Somebody's got a
Our
dog.
dog must see something. Yeah, so I'm oh yeah, somebody's bringing us up. So I am a member of the Mill Pond Association, yes.
Okay, I was going to suggest to you that maybe the association would write a letter to the Sewer and Water Board Commission and ask them to look at Mill Pond as a project that needed work.
Good suggestion, Carolyn.
Because, you know, I'm a little bit skeptical about the septic systems being the cause, because, you know, we have the one parcel, 60-acre parcel of land that has only one septic on it. I mean, we're not like loaded with houses around Mill Pond.
You got a whole
gotta
hillside.
Keep in
You got a whole
mind that it
hillside
goes
there.
back for 10 miles. It's not just what's around it. With freshwater ponds, it's pretty much what's around it. With marine systems and nitrogen travels 10, 15 miles. So what's impacting Mill Pond, some of it could be coming all the way from Brewster.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my suggestion, that you ask them to put that on their project list.
To write a letter to the Sewer
And
Commission.
Sewer and Water Board Commission.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
that may get more attention than us doing anything. If you can do that as a group of citizens.
Okay.
Judy?
Yep.
I just wanted to leave you with a thought, William. Years ago, Mill Pond used to be really beautiful with eelgrass. I used to flounder fish there. Water quality was not bad. I mean, I'm going back to when I was a teenager, and I won't tell you how long ago that was, but the race used to be less deteriorated than it is now, and yet you still had a healthy system in there. What has changed over time is development and septic systems. And so I think if you think about it like that, and even with the race now more deteriorated, the water rips in there over those rocks. It's not a barrier that it used to be, and yet you still have poor water quality. So I think the source is quite obvious, and as Judith pointed out, depending on groundwater flow direction, it has a major impact on Mill Pond. And so going for the source of that problem is usually the best approach.
Okay.
There's a number of huge houses that have been built on the hillside there. So there definitely has been a change in the density of residences that are within the flow, the groundwater flow of that pond.
Mm-hmm.
So go for it.
Okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Can I report back on Pilgrim Lake?
Yes.
Yes, George.
The plan was finalized in October 2019. And it's going to be I just checked, it wasn't posted on the town website, so it'll be up there before the end of the day.
Okay, thank you very much.
But I have a question. I don't recall reviewing the final draft.
Never came back.
How
to-
can it be completed without us doing a final review?
Yeah, it's been my experience with UMass that you review a draft and they do incorporate all the comments of your initial review, and then they just call it final. That is,
Okay,
has
well, I
happened
look
more than
forward
once.
to reading it.
Okay,
Thanks, George.
Thank you, George. I thought it had been finalized.
Okay, any other comments before we sign off?
You guys rock.
Thank you, Walter.
Thank you.
Oh, Walter, there he is, a little icon.
Walter refuses to be seen on Zoom. He prefers to
Okay.
be a man of mystery.
Thank you all for coming, and we'll update you on the things as they move along, particularly the estuary sampling, and George is gonna post things for us, and I know our next meeting is supposed to be in July. I don't know. George tells me that maybe town hall will be open in a couple of weeks.
This was
And-
perfectly fine.
I thought this worked really well.
Yeah, I have no problem zooming.
Okay,
We've been doing Conservation Commission on Zoom. It's fine.
okay.
But don't forget
Thank
to
you.
send out those estuary dates so I don't make a commitment.
I
on a
have,
date.
I have a note here. Thank
Okay.
you.
We need a
Thanks.
move to adjourn.
It's really nice to see everybody
What?
And how?
and
We
hear.
need a-
George.
Wait a minute.
we
Ed, what
need
did you say?
somebody to move to adjourn.
Yes,
So moved.
Second.
Judy moves to adjourn.
Aye.
Betsy seconds.
Aye.
Aye.
Will,
Aye.
Aye.